Finally. I don't even know if it'll weigh. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Woohoo! One in the live well. Thank you, Lord. All right, another little one, but it'll weigh. I think. Oh, yeah. Ooh, thank you, Lord. I got all excited about that little old fish. Mercy sakes.
Welcome to Woods, Water, and the Word, and today I want to do a little bit of a breakdown on some tournaments for those that be interested in that, especially for those that think that they may have a inkling to get involved in some tournament fishing that's never done that before and think it might be fun to get involved, but you put yourself in a position to think, well, you know, I'm not a good enough fisherman, or, you know, I don't know a lot about electronics and all that, and I wouldn't even be competitive in the realm of tournament fishing. Well, you know, I'd probably come in last every time or something like that. Look, get all that stuff out your system and don't even worry about that. If you think you want to get involved in a little bit of tournament fishing, shoot, get involved in it. Hey, you can catch a fish just like anybody else can. Don't worry about all that stuff on the side. Go out and have some fun. I can remember back in the, oh gosh, I guess it was the late 70s, 79, early part of the 80s, getting involved in a local bass club. And I had fun doing that, but being young, it was a stressful thing. I felt like I needed to perform. I needed to do this, and I needed to do that. And that's before all the modern technologies involved in bass fishing, but anyway, your life comes around, and you know, you get out of things like that. And year before last, I decided, you know, I want to start tournament fishing a little bit again, and so I'd gotten involved in the ABA, and I fished the North Louisiana part of that little circuit, and got to fish a lot of new lakes. That was fun. The good part, the interesting part was I didn't know anybody up there, and anybody that knows me knows it's like I can't go anywhere in the U.S. that I don't know somebody, but I didn't know anybody, and it was neat fishing that, and I fished that for one season, and a friend of mine got a hold of me and said, man, you need to fish the Bass Champ circuit. Said the entry fees are affordable. That's something else for people like me and you to be a frugal fisherman. And get involved in that, and man, listen, you know, if that blind hog does find an acorn, then that's a $20,000 prize at the beginning. Boy, that'd be exciting. And then and a lot of the times, depending on how many people are entered, and I think the lowest I've ever seen is like 180, and the most was like 300 and something. But I mean, it'll pay almost 30 places a lot of times, and sometimes more than that. But what I'm trying to do is encourage you that if you want to get involved, man, get involved with it. And so, look, I tell people, look, I'm mediocre at best. Me and my partner, we fished last year, and we were in the, I guess we were in the maybe we were a little above the halfway mark throughout the season, and I didn't think that was too bad for the first year of fishing it. And I'll tell you what we've done the last two tournaments. We're doing a little bit better with that. At least we were with the first tournament. And and also fishing the Southern Bass Fishing Association. It's a small little club / circuit thing that's going on. We just had our first tournament Saturday, and I want to tell you a little bit about that and a little bit about how we strategized on these things, just to show you. Look, there's some young guys out there, y'all. Hey, they're good. They're good at what they do. They're on the water regularly. They stay in the know. They're whizzes on these electronics, and that is a big deal. You can still go fishing without it, but it is a big deal in competitive fishing, and no, I won't deny that at all. But I mean, these guys are good. But I'm going to tell you something. They can be beat just like anybody else. It's not likely that you and I are going to beat them, but hey, we stand just as good a chance as anybody else. Remember, it's fishing. It's fishing, and all you got to do is catch them. Well, now let me give you a breakdown on the first tournament to show you where we at. We're just average people. Show you where we were at with that. We fished the first tournament for Bass Champs on Sam Rayburn. That was on January the 19th. I'll turn around and look at my calendar. January the 19th, I believe it was. We left here. We got to the landing, and to give you a little background, last year was the first time I had ever fished Sam Rayburn, and I think on the 19th that would have been the probably the fifth time that I had ever been on the lake. Well, it takes a long time to learn a lake, and as big as that place is, it's going to take years to learn that, if I've even got that many years left to learn it. But anyhow, we had a couple of spots. I had actually pre-fished north the week prior to that, and caught a few fish. My partner fished more south, and anyway, we compared notes, and although I caught more fish than he did, he had a couple of bigger ones than I did. So we just decided we had a couple of spots we were going to try, and that was it. We got there that Saturday morning, and I think it was like 19 degrees, y'all. It was cold. Now I knew how to dress for it, so I got dressed for it, and he did too, and we got in the boat, and it was a trailering event because of the weather, and we still had several miles of running. I don't know how many miles it was, but I'm going to guess between 3 and 7. I don't know. Anyhow, and we leave out. You couldn't have first cast till 7 o'clock. You could leave the landing at 6, I believe is what it was. And so we left out. The wind was already blowing. We got to where we were going to fish, and I think by the time we got the boat stopped, it was 7:08 or something like that. So people were already probably fishing. But to show you how we strategized this is, when it was cold temperatures, the water temperature, if I remember right, was around 49 degrees, which is cold in the south. If you're looking at this and you're from the Midwest or the North, you may think that's warm weather. That's not for us down here, and it's certainly not for our fish. I don't know if a fish knows the difference or not from the northern fish and southern fish, but I would suspect maybe they do. But so what we were looking for something where we could be in deep water, we could cast into shallower water, and we could hit a range. I mean, just basic bass fishing knowledge this time of year. So what we did, we found a creek channel. I'd fished there before. Raymond had fished there, pre-fished it, where he caught a couple of fish. So we got there. We pulled up on the channel. It was 16 foot deep. I hit spot lock on my Ultrex. And by the time we got there, even with gloves on, my hands were so cold they hurt. I couldn't even hardly get my gloves off. My partner got up. Raymond got up. He made one cast, soft plastic, made one cast. We were throwing up on 3 foot, and we were bringing it down a quick shelf. And what we wound up catching the fish between 8 and 12 foot. But he went to bring, and he said, "There's one already." First cast, set the hook and got it in the boat. He put 2 fish in the boat before I could ever grab my rod. and I knew it was going to be a good day, and I knew we weren't moving. High pressure system, post front, bluebird clear skies. Not the day that I would have picked to went fishing, but that's the day that it was. We wound up staying on spot lock for like 7 hours, something like that, 7.5 hours. We never got off a spot lock, and we fished there. We caught, well, we had our 5 fish limit in the boat before 8 o'clock. We were culling by 8 o'clock, and the second or third fish was just under 9 pounds. We were having a good day, and I was excited about that because I knew we were on fish. We could see other people moving around. They were moving around a lot. I think I only saw one other boat actually catch a fish. We were fishing offshore. It wasn't anything that was close to the bank or anything like that, and we weren't moving. So we fished pretty clean that day. We lost 2 fish, both of them at the boat. One of them wouldn't have done us any good. I lost one at the boat on a jigging spoon. I'll tell you about that in just a second. That would have went probably, I mean, it was right at the boat, and Raymond had the net, and the fish made one turn. He was fixing the net, and the hook popped out of its mouth. Just one of those things. Sharp hooks, it's just one of those things. And the fish got off. That fish, and of course there's always the one that got away, but that fish probably, it would have put us, we wound up in 3rd place for the tournament. It would have probably put us, would have probably took 2nd place with that. Anyhow, I was using the AccuColor on my phone, and it showed that we had my scale weighs a little light, and it showed we had 23 something, which we ultimately wound up weighing 25 something, which was, that's a heck of a stringer. I still say stringer, y'all. I know the terminology nowadays is a bag, but I'm just going to hold on to old times. So we had a heck of a stringer, and man, listen, we were thanking God every time we said, we were having fun, y'all. On a day that was that cold, we were having fun. And I've had my line freeze in the guides before. I can't remember if my line has ever froze on the spool before. And I was spraying it down with Real Magic. It's a line conditioner, and that would help for just a few casts. But man, it was just unbelievable. But we had a great day, man. We were catching some fish, and what we caught them on, I don't mind telling you. Well, I'm not too specific, but we caught them on soft plastics, Carolina rig style, and we would work it down that steep shelf, and then my partner, he's just one of them guys, he's just going to stick with something. I'm kind of the experimenter, and I wound up throwing a crankbait, pulling a deep diving crankbait off that shelf. I caught 1 fish on the first cast. I said, oh yeah, it's on now. I never caught another fish on that crankbait. So I put on a cheap Wahoo jigging spoon. Get them at Academy. Man, they're like, I don't know, like $1 something, $2 and something. And I would cast up on that shallow, and I would pull it almost like you were Texas rigging, soft plastic, and I'd kind of pop it off there, and as it fluttered down, they would hit it. So that's actually what I'd lost that one off of, I believe I said that. So that's why I kind of went back and forth with the soft plastic and that. Wound up catching around 30 fish. We weighed in 25 something. We took 3rd place. And y'all listen, us mediocre old guys, we wound up beating some sticks. That's what they call them now. They call them sticks. Oh yeah, that dude's a stick on that lake. Well, you know what we were? We were sticks on Sam Rayburn that day, and we were excited about it. A friend of mine told me, he called me, he read the stand, he said, man, I saw the standings on there. He said, man, y'all did good, congratulations. I said, hey, bud, I said, a blind hog find acorn every once in a while. He said, man, be a hero today, because the next tournament, you're probably going to be a 0. Well, I didn't know that he was prophesying on that. Anyhow, that was the Sam Rayburn tournament, and the Lord blessed us that day. And look, the blessing didn't come because we won 3rd place. That was just extra. That was just, the blessing is that we were able to go, and we didn't tear nothing up, we didn't fall out the boat, and we had a good time. Thank the Lord for that. Well, the next tournament was in February. Oh golly, I think that was on the 12th, and it was at Toledo Bend. We were literally fishing blind. It was another trailering event, so we decided we were going to trailer around. The tournament was out of Cypress Bend, but since it was trailering, we trailered around, kind of basing that off the wind direction in 6 Mile. So we put in at 6 Mile. They had just burnt the woods, and y'all, it was as thick as fog. We had to stop a couple of times because we just didn't know where we were on the channel. And we were in Raymond's boat, and on his electronics, which are ancient, they're about 10 years old. Something wasn't right with the mapping or something. Anyway, it was tough. And look, I like the smell of pine burning, but 7-8 hours of that, I kind of got burnt out on it. But enough of that. We start fishing, and man, I'm fishing rattle traps. Wound up catching 2 on a Dickie Newberry color for the rattle trap, 1/2 ounce rattle trap. One of them was a short fish, and one of them was a wire. Raymond was fishing soft plastics, which he's as good on soft plastics as anybody I've ever been in a boat with. And he'd set the hook and he couldn't get them in the boat. He was having one of them days. I say it like this, his biorhythms weren't aligned that day. And poor guy, just couldn't get him in the boat. We wound up going in a big bay. I found some fish on live scope. Once we got that to working on the boat, there was a short in that, and Raymond had to work on that. And I found a school. It looked like it was 8 or 9 fish, and I didn't know what they were at first. And man, we were casting to them, couldn't get them to hit anything. And I tied on a suspending jerk bait. It's a Bass Pro Shops model. I think I got it at the outlet store for, I'm wanting to say it was $4 and something cents for that. And I'm telling you, I'm going to be doing segments on the Frugal Fisherman. You will not see me spend $25 on a jerkbait. I just ain't doing it. And I'll talk about that when I talk about that sort of thing. But anyway, $4 and something cents suspending jerkbait, and I made a cast. Y'all, this was so cool. I know there's people, they like live scope, they don't like live scope. We can talk about that on another video, and I plan on doing that. But I'm gonna tell you what, that was just fun, because as I worked that jerkbait down, the jerkbait was just over the fish, and one of them come up out of the school. And I told Raymond, I said, watch him, he's fixing to take it. And look, just like what happens on live scope, it can be frustrating sometimes. The fish come up, and then just started sinking back down. And I stopped my rod, so in essence, I killed the bait. I turned around, I looked at Raymond, I said, did you just see that? And when I did, boom, my arm jerked. Set the hook, it was a 630. I knew then that school of bass had the potential to win the entire tournament. If we could pull 5 of those fish out, because I could see them, they were basically around the same size. If we could pull 4 more of those fish out, we had a potential to weigh 30 plus pounds. 25 pounds at least. So anyway, I got pretty excited about that. And we couldn't find fish anywhere else, so we just decided we're going to stay with them. And we did for the remainder of the day, and could not pull another fish out of that school. Wound up putting the 3rd fish in that area. It wasn't out of that school, on a Carolina rig, a fluke on a Carolina rig, and the last 5 minutes, because your last cast had to be in at 3 o'clock. In the last 5 minutes, Raymond set the hook and was able to get a fish in the boat, so that made us 4. So we wound up having to leave with 4 fish. And by the way, the wind had come up. Thank God it was a trailing event, because I'm telling you now, I wouldn't have cared if I'd had 50 pounds of fish in the boat. I would not have went out in that lake in anything. And I think there was a boat that was I think it was a bay boat that was actually capsized during that day. So anyway, we made it to weigh in. We wound up in 78th place. So again, we went from heroes. We weren't zeros, but it's a long way from 3rd place to 78th place. But that was okay. We're still on track. We had a good day of fishing. Everything was okay. Raymond had a tough day just because we've all had those days. You just can't get them in the boat for whatever reason. So anyway, that was that tournament. Saturday, we had a tournament on Saline Larto. For those of you that don't know, that's in that's going toward Mississippi. It's on the east side, east central of the state, and it's a cypress swamp waterway that's got small lakes and bayous and stuff. Beautiful. Cypresses, buckbrush, the fish, just all kind of stuff. And I haven't been bass fishing there in probably 30 years. I've been white perch fishing or crappie fishing, and that's been probably 4 or 5 years since I've been there doing that. But I hadn't thrown for a bass in 30 years there. So anyway, going blind again. Wasn't able to do any kind of pre-fishing. Going blind again. But I was listening to what people were saying. And they were saying that the fish were not biting on what they normally bite on. So they, normally they're fishing spinner baits, they're pitching jigs in buckbrush and stuff like that. The water levels were lower than normal. They were 2 inches above pool, but this place it's a big swamp lake, so it stuff comes up. Usually this time of the year with the rains, it's higher than it was. So I was listening to what they were saying wasn't working. And that's just a no-brainer for me. If they're not catching them, the majority of people that I'm talking to aren't catching them on certain things, then I'm going to try to do something different. They said the spinner bait bite was off completely. So, and they were mostly fishing white and chartreuse spinner baits with nickel or chrome blades on them, willow leaf blades. And so I'm thinking about that. So I said, okay, I'm gonna rig up a spinner bait. But I'm not going to rig up anything that's chartreuse or white, and I'm not going to rig up any kind of willow leaf. I'm going to do something completely different. When we got there, the water, y'all listen, the water was maybe 3 inches. It was muddy, and I like stained water, but that was muddy. I mean, 3 inches of visibility at the most is what I saw. Anyway, what I did is I wound up rigging up this spinner bait, and this spinner bait, I actually use this when I used to night fish more. I don't night fish so much anymore. I'm tired in the evenings. I like to sit down. I don't go night fishing as much. Got a desire to, just ain't got the oomph to. But anyway, I've got that. I don't even know what brand this is. I put this Z-Man skirt on here. I like these Z-Man skirts. They hold up real well. They're easy to take on and off. And I don't know what number Colorado blade this is, but it's got some little red up on the rod. And then I rigged up, this is the original up on the rod. And then I rigged up, this is the original chatterbait. This is a black and red also with a black blade. And again, I'm a frugal fisherman for the most part. I'm not spending $15, $17, $20 on a chatterbait. And y'all listen, people can argue, and that's fine with me. If they want to spend that and say, man, I'll catch 5 to 1, that's fine. I'll just keep the one I catch on this. I'm just not going to spend that much on a chatterbait. So I buy the originals. And these are $4 and something cents, I believe. But I think this one, I don't know where I got it. Maybe Academy, I don't know. Anyway, I rigged those up, and I had a Yum stick bait. Not a stick bait, but a worm similar to a Senko, and it was black and blue swirl. And I don't mind telling you this, I don't know when I'll be fishing there again, probably not till next year. But anyway, I wound up, I couldn't find the water that I wanted to find, and it was taking me so long to move around because I wasn't familiar with the area because it had been so many years. I just went fishing. And I wound up fishing in some button willows and buckbrush, and I'll have a couple of video clips on there. And I caught the first fish on that soft stick bait, Texas rig, black and blue swirl, and I was pitching it. And I was pitching in about 1 foot to 2 foot of water, but the water temperature had increased from what they said it was going to be. It increased. They were saying it was in the like 49 to 50, and the water I was in was 55 degrees, and I got pretty excited about that. So I wound up catching the first fish. It was a wave fish. It was like 13 inches, and you'll see it on the video. And so I had one in the live well. It was 9 something when I caught that first fish, and I'm telling you, when I get to fishing, I just don't stop. I just put my head down and I go to fishing. I just enjoy it that much. It's not a chore for me. It's not a grind for me. I just enjoy it. Well, I had 2 more hits on that, but they would take the bait and run with it. I'd set the hook, and apparently they just had it by the tail. So the way they were running with it, I felt like they were pretty active. So the next thing I picked up was this spinnerbait, and I wound up catching 2 fish on this spinnerbait. And when they hit it, y'all, they hit it, and they didn't mess around with it. Didn't have to worry about trailer hooks or anything like that. I wound up catching 2 fish on this, and so this was a faster way to cover more water. The fish were on the outside of the bushes because when I fished the soft plastics, I was pitching up in the heavy cover because I thought we're post frontal again. I mean, that morning I hadn't fished a tournament yet, that the morning wasn't cool, and the whole boat was frosted over by the time I got to where I was going with the fog that was on the water that early that morning, and I figured they'd be tight inside the brush. Well, they weren't. Every bite was coming on the outside. So this, I was able to cover more water faster fishing the outside of the brush. Well, that bite just stopped. I could not get another bite on nothing. So I picked up, was running out of time, and I really didn't know how long it was going to take me to get back. So I wound up at the mouth of Saline, and I threw the spinnerbait for a little while, and I picked up the chatterbait around the cypress trees. I didn't make but about, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 casts. Caught my 4th fish. I needed 1 more fish. I caught my 4th fish on this, and I said, man, this is on. I'm going to wind up putting the 5 fish in the boat. That was my goal for the day, was to put 5 fish in the boat, and I wasn't catching anything big. I don't even know if the 4 I had, out of that 4, I don't even know if I had one that was 2 pounds. But I had 1 more fish to catch. I throwed this till I had to go, and I left. When I got to the landing, I had 10 minutes left. So right there while boats were coming in, I was casting again. I just don't quit, and thought maybe I could pull it off and put 1 more fish in, but I didn't. So I wound up weighing 4 fish, and they weren't anything to talk about. But I wound up in 6th place on it, so that kept me. My partner was not able to show up, so I'm fishing by myself. I was the only one fishing by myself that day, and he had to work, and so. When you do something like that, and you have to fish by yourself for a tournament, that's at best, that's only half the casts that are going into the water. I have no doubt that if my partner had been in the boat, we'd have had a 5 fish limit. No doubt about it, because we'd have had at least twice as many casts, and we would have been fishing different things and working that out. But enough of that. But wound up in 6th place, which the top 6 of this tournament series by weight is what's going to be in the championship. So that's at least we're not out of the championship to begin with. So the reason I went through that breakdown with you again is you're just looking at a guy that likes to bass fish, that's fishing a couple of tournaments. One of them is a bigger circuit, the other one's smaller. I'm enjoying both of them. I love the competition. I love to see the fish getting weighed in, and I'm not as stressed over it at this segment in my life as I was before. I don't have to win. I want to, don't get me wrong. I don't have to, and I just enjoy going fishing. I love the competitive nature about it, and the excitement about it. So I want to share that with y'all, give you that breakdown. Hopefully we'll be able to splice these videos in here to kind of show you some catches from the boat. I know that there's some kids at the school where my grandson and granddaughter go to school at Grace Christian. Ben was telling them that his papa was doing a YouTube channel, and he was doing some stuff on fishing and hunting, stuff like that. And they said, we want to see some video on the water. So hopefully they'll get excited about seeing that video. I know I spent a lot of time with you, and I hope I encourage some of y'all that are thinking about doing a little bit of competitive tournament fishing. Y'all listen, just do it. Just get in there and do it and enjoy yourself. It doesn't matter if you catch a fish. It does. Just get involved, and you'll have a good time. Remember, you don't have anything to prove to anybody. Just have a good time, and give the Lord the the glory and the praise for letting us, listen, in the United States of America, we're blessed. We're able to do these things. We're able to do things that a lot of other places in the world can't do. They can't even think about something like this. And man, I hooked up to my boat Saturday morning. I hooked it on my truck. I take off down the highway. For right now, I can afford gas. And I just think about how good God's been to me and to us. And I thank Him for it. And I'm just going to enjoy the blessings that He's given us. And I appreciate it so much. So, good talking to y'all. And we'll be back, Lord willing, for another episode of Woods, Water, and the Word.